Welcome back to Brave Ideas, where we chat with the leaders in commercial real estate to answer all questions, space as a service, and help office real estate reposition to meet the evolving demand from the future of work. If you're an investor, fund manager, developer, landlord, operator, property manager, agent, or broker, hit that subscribe button. And if you prefer to watch or join our newsletter, head over to braveideas.media. I'm your host, Caleb Parker, and for this episode, hosted inside Mute's showroom in Clerkenwell, I'm joined by my friend Niki Fuchs, co-founder and group CEO at Office Space in Town. Niki and her brother/co-founder Giles are the epitome of entrepreneurial success. They set up Office Space in Town in 2009 after several other business ventures, and today they own Burr Island Hotel, a luxurious Art Deco hotel built in 1929 off the coast of Devon in England. Now, I've known Niki for nearly a decade, and near the end of this episode, I share a story from my first impressions of Niki. But we start this episode with a simple idea: culture travels. You're going to hear how Niki and Giles acquired Burr Island Hotel and rebuilt a broken company culture with presence, consistency, transparency, and the right level of vulnerability, and how that playbook applies to offices. Now, I've long been saying the future of office looks like the hotel industry. So we go on to test that hotel analogy, and Niki shares why daily first impressions are not the same as the long horizon relationships in workplaces. So we dig into the similarities and differences between delivering hospitality in hotels and workplaces. Then we get practical. We go into the operating models of propcos and opcos, profit-sharing leases, service-driven models, and why front-of-house control is central to casting a customer service net over the entire building. Now, I couldn't help myself, so we had to also cover underwriting discipline and the valuation gap that still holds flex-heavy assets back. If you care about aligning risk, control, and cash flow while creating places people choose, this conversation is for you. So without further ado, let's jump into the Mute Podcast Studio with Niki. Welcome to Brave Ideas, Niki.
Thank you for having me, Caleb. It's very exciting.
I am so thrilled that you said yes. We saw each other at Juicy a few weeks ago, but we've known each other for over 10 years.
God, you look great.
Did you know that? You look great. I saw you the other day. I was like, I almost didn't recognize you.
That's age for you. And also absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Well, that is true. That is true. You've been gone from London for some time. What have you been doing?
I have been working with Giles at our hotel in Devon, Burr Island Hotel. We made the investment in 2018 and we hit some bumps in the road. So Giles and I decided to take our experience and go down there and make a difference. And it's been a huge learning curve. But the one thing I can say is culture travels.
Culture travels. That is interesting. Can you elaborate on that?
I think due to some bad management by the management team and some toxicity, the culture in the hotel was broken. And the people there were all great people, but they had forgotten what it was like to work in an acceptable environment. And so we went down there and through presence, consistency, honesty, transparency, we changed the culture.
I think that it's interesting you say the word presence. And I wonder if there's an analogy there as we talk about analogies around the office and hotel, if there's an analogy around presence and culture, because in a world of hybrid working, people are debating on how often people need to be in an office. And I think, to me, that's the wrong debate. I think it's plus is call it hybrid because it's the blending of two things, and the office plus flexible working. I'm just thinking if people have a nuance from company to company, from person to person, how much they need to be present face to face versus on a screen to make sure culture stays intact. So my question for you then on that is there one thing that you found about that presence that enabled your culture to be strengthened and the team to level up?
The presence was about being visible and for them to learn who we were so they could trust us. So It was about the team in the first instance seeing us there regularly and knowing that we were going to be turning up and that we were going to be available to them. So a bit like a child, you carve out time, whether it's bedtime, but it's a regular slot. So that child knows that they're going to have one-to-one time with you and they can talk to you about anything or talk to you about nothing, but you're going to be there for them and available to them. So I'd say that's one essential part of the presence and culture. The other thing is that vulnerability is really important for people to learn who you are and to understand your values. They have to see you as vulnerable. I don't mean breaking down and crying in front of them, but you have to decide how much of you you're going to show them and the bits that are going to help them in their day to day and in their personal lives. Being visible to them is part of being present. And also that they know you're going to see the truth. So they don't have to be the whistleblower, but they can support you when you see what you need to see, but they know you're going to see what you've got to see without them having to put themselves on the line, put their head above the parapet. So in our case, we were dealing with the toxic culture, but I think those three elements would apply in any environment if you need to change a culture, build a culture, start a culture.
The question that comes to mind for me is how do you instill that? You mentioned the word toxic culture. How do you ensure that when you're coming in, when that's not been the case, that doesn't give off any negative vibes? How do you balance out and make this a positive situation?
If I've understood the question, how do they know that you're coming in to make it better? Is that what you're asking?
Well, no, I guess what I was asking is, like if often presence could make people feel like they're watching us.
They're the wrong people.
Okay.
If they feel like that, then they're not the people for our culture. They have to have made the decision that they want to lean into it and find out where it's going to go. It's very, they've learned behavior patterns because of what they've been in, but they have to make a decision that they want it to change and that they, as part of the journey, they've understood that it's toxic and that it doesn't need to be like that. And actually, the other side of the wall, it's so much better and they're going to be so much happier. But they have to make that commitment. And if they're not, then they're not on the journey for you. So you just have to part ways because if you carry any of that toxicity with you, you'll fail. So you have to be really harsh, really concise, really clear about who stays, who goes. People that want to stay, even if they've been part of it, we've seen people change dramatically and they're now the biggest proponents, is that the right word, of the new culture and driving the hotel forward.
So you've come in as leadership, sharing what the values should be. And
Our personal values.
okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think Giles and I didn't make a decision at any point in our lives and go, this is what we want our business culture to be. We brought our family values with us, and they're the cultures that we've developed within our businesses.
So you bring in your family values. As leaders, you come in with the presence. You're starting to communicate your family values and how you want to take the company forward in a positive way so that on the other side of that growth, it's great for everyone. Great for investors, shareholders, management. It's great for the team. It's great for the customers. And by communicating those values, you're telling people either implicitly or explicitly, if you are aligned with this, let's go to this great place. If you're not aligned, to get off the train or the rocket ship.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is implicit. It's not, it's not out there. We don't say it to them. Maybe occasionally to a few.
And okay, so we got on this tangent here because I asked, what have you been doing in the last couple of years? And this is it. And so culture, I think for me, has been a bigger threat to the office than remote work ever was, because people got used to, working outside of a culture, in office culture that many times is toxic, and they don't want to go back to it. And so in order for our offices to be full and full of people that are excited to be there, the cultures have to be pretty strong inside. And so that's why I wanted to get on this tangent with you, because you just got finished turning around a culture. And so it's been successful now.
It was always a beautiful place. Burr Island is a very, very magical place, and it has always had incredible individuals there. And now it is just more beautiful, more special. And the people there looking after our guests and looking after each other are happy.
Wonderful. It's a great story.
It is a great story. It's very beautiful, very great. And it's an iconic location.
I've seen the videos and the pictures online, and I would love to see it in person one day.
Just let me know.
All right. Well, now I think it's okay to talk about the analogy between hotel and office. So we've seen in recent years, but it's not new, but we've seen it become a big trend in the headlines and a bigger snowball happening of the hotelification of office. Call it space as a service, maybe, or at least that's what people say.
Just for the record, I'm nodding, shaking my head, and smiling.
Yeah, for those not watching this and actually listening, she's a very cynical look on her face right now, Niki. But and that's what I want to unpack, because you're sort of squinting because you have delivered service in a hotel, delivered hospitality in a experience led capacity. And you have some amazing office buildings too. What is the difference?
I think there are a lot of similarities. I probably would struggle to verbalize the differences. Come on, Nikki, find your words. I don't like the term hotelification. One, because I can't say it very easily, so it doesn't really roll off my tongue. And also, if you are in hospitality, I think it's a bit of an insult because they work so hard. They work hard. And we in office space, we think we work hard. We don't know what hard work is. And these guys give their souls and the soles of their feet every day looking after their guests. And they do the same thing day in, day out, different people. And they change people's lives on an hourly, half daily, daily basis. And in our space where we look after our clients, we are able to build relationships over a longer period of time. And that's very different. I think maintaining consistency of service in an office is very different to maintaining consistency in a hotel because of the energy levels.
When you say energy levels, do you mean the ability to maintain a consistent, happy, positive, smiling, welcoming energy for longer periods of time, longer period of times during the day? What do you mean?
I think because when you have, it's like fresh blood, fresh meat every day in a hotel. You don't have that in an office.
Because the first impressions.
Yeah. So in an office environment or a work environment, however you want to call it, you have the longevity of a relationship, and relationships go up and down and they get stressed in different ways. And you don't have that in a hotel. So yes, the customer service element, the hotel training is essential because, as in your previous podcast in Barcelona, and they were talking about, the importance of the brand. Your clients want to come in and know that they're going to have a great smile and how's your day and what's special for you today. That's really important. But building relationships over a long period of time, which is what we do in our spaces, is very different from a hotel. That's one element as to why I don't like the term hotelification, but that's a very simplistic differential.
Should it be different though? I mean, I understand the nuance between the relationship.
They're different skill sets.
So in my previous life, we hired people, recruited people out of hospitality because we said, look, we want your personality. We want the experience that you deliver in the hospitality environments. But in return, we're going to give you a 9 to 5 versus, 24/7.
Right. Who's not going to give that hospitality up for that offer?
Right. So, but if we can recruit people from hospitality in, are we not importing that experience and that energy?
I think the clients that we have in our buildings expect more depth. And I don't mean that people in hospitality and they don't have the ability to give depth, but the relationship has to have depth, and the people in our business have to have knowledge and understanding, and they have to understand the commercialities and the challenges of the individuals that are commuting in on a career path, getting pressure every day to do a job. All of those things that happen in the commercial environment for businesses and employees. And that's what makes it so different. So I think calling it hotelification is an oversimplification. So not the other way around. It's an oversimplification of what we do in our environments now.
And does that differ between a leisure hotel destination versus a business hotel, where you might have the same business guests every week?
There's more of a crossover. At Burr, we have a huge amount of returning guests, and their expectations are much higher. And every time they come, they compare to their last time, and they will pick up on the tiniest thing that isn't right because they feel more invested. They feel that we owe them more because they're returning guests. And so when you get into that element, then that's leaning more into the type of relationship we have in our work environments.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way, and I think the people, the soft skills that are a specialty in hotels, I've dreamed about bringing that into the office world. But I kind of see what you're saying, that you're not delivering the same first impressions to new people every day. You have to deliver a different impression um, to the same people every day.
I might not be right.
Well, I'm just wondering if but it's, that can be like okay, you don't want somebody to be fake smiley every single day. Oh, blah, 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 hello, blah, blah," but I think you still want smiley people when you walk into your workplace. You want them to know. James Panapinto, he's the a senior GM for Clockwise. We used to work together at Bold back in the day. He's been writing on Brave Ideas, our platform on hospitality, and what he talks about is sweating the small stuff. And hospitality is not these big gestures, big grand gestures like a marble statue in the lobby. It's actually the day to day of understanding what somebody's coffee order is going to be, understanding the conversation you had last week with them, and asking questions about updates about their kids or whatever it might be, which you might not get in a hotel, but it absolutely matters in the office world.
And that's the longevity of the relationship. And the other bit we're not talking about is, so in our work environments, we have our cafes and we have our receptionists, which can be that hotelification, hospitalization, or whatever the word that you want to use. But you need the core team that are commercial, that understand the other element of the challenges to our business, because the people that buy from us need that reassurance that we understand their business. So it's really important that we have that commerciality in our buildings with the people that are seeing our clients day in, day out. And that's one of the things in OSIT, got a structure that, because we believe it, we support that. So our general managers are responsible for the entire business in that building. We don't have sales teams that sit somewhere else. We don't have customer service teams that sit somewhere else. We don't have a central sales function of any sort. Our general managers run that business, and those clients are their clients. And so they ensure that every aspect of that client's needs is taken care of, whether it's the smile on the front desk, whether it's the coffee for their birthday, whether it's the arm around the shoulder because they're going through some trauma in their personal life, or whether it's the understanding they need to downside because business is tough. And why is it tough? And they have that commercial understanding. So we've structured our business to ensure that we can deliver all those different contact points.
This, which you've described just now, is the one of the biggest differences that I see between what our industry has been for decades and traditional office space, right? I always say in space as a service, the service that's delivered within the flex operation, co-working service office, whatever, is always wrapped embedded in that footprint. How can we unlock that and wrap it around the entire building? And so if we sort of segue to the conversations that's been happening the last 6-7 years, certainly on my podcast, I've been talking about management agreements a lot, and I wouldn't say bashing, but definitely not very keen on lease arbitrage model. Even though Johnny Weinbrand tells me I'm wrong, you can still make good money on lease arbitrage, of course, and I've softened my stance on that a bit. But I've always thought that the future of office looks like a hotel in many ways, but in a big way, the propco opco, where the service isn't just limited to the footprint of the flex operation, but it's actually delivered to every customer in the building.
Yeah. I think on that basis, I'm starting to see office space in town OSIT as more as a service delivery company. So we have the cleaning company within it. We have the facilities management within it. We might build in life coaching, business coaching. When we did one of our very early buildings under a different company name in Brighton. We said, we're not going to come in there unless you give us the front desk. Because if you want to control the building, have the relationships, understand what's going wrong, and really drive value for the landlord, you need to have control of the whole service of the whole building. So the F&M, the cleaning, those touch points that cause issues to your clients need to have the service element of our industry. And if you've got CBRE, Colliers managing the building, you have one of us co-working operator on 2 floors, then you've got your traditional tenants, you're not getting the added value for your building out of your flex operator.
So I agree 100% with that. And there's different ways to structure that. And I want to dive into the future of that structuring. But before we do, I want to point out that your business and the buildings that you have a lot of buildings that you own. So you do control everything.
We do. Yep.
And you've been controlling it.
We have brilliantly, though I say it myself. Well, actually, I can't take, Sarah and Georgia have been doing it for the last 2 years and they've been doing an amazing job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think it's proof in the pudding. And, real estate, obviously track record's a big word that's being thrown around for a good reason. But the question I have for you around that, though, is with you owning the buildings, do you structure it as a PropCo OpCo where the property sits in one vehicle and the operating platform and the FM and the maintenance, everything sits in different vehicles? Or how does that work for you?
Office Space in Town is the holding company. And within that, we have our cleaning company. Give us a call. We have just set up our facilities management company and we are saving ourselves money now by bringing it in-house. We have our own engineers, etc. And we have found that nobody, as we all know, nobody does it as well as we do it ourselves. And we've found holes everywhere. We've found holes in the security systems. We've found holes in the F&M works, and we think we're fairly procedural and we catch most things. And we were missing stuff, but now we've caught it. And below that, we have our propcos and our opcos.
So there's profit sharing leases up to the
flow up from the opcos.
They flow up from the opcos. They are then your shareholders are able to take advantage of that upflow.
Yeah. So we take the profit out of the opcos.
Okay. So that being said, if we look forward in a profit sharing lease scenario where you don't own the building and you control a building that someone else owns, as you say, I need to control the front of house. How do you structure that? Is it an asset management? Is it you just lease the whole building? Is it a management agreement? What do you think the future looks like?
When you're coming up with a solution for anything, it's what feels comfortable for the owner of the building or the decision maker. The ultimate decision maker is the person you're selling the concept to. So if they feel more comfortable having separate agreements for their building management, separate for their cleaning, separate for their flex solution, separate for their front of desk management, then that's what you would do. It would seem bizarre to us, but it's how they feel comfortable. They're like, if they've had a problem in one particular area, they want to know they've got control. I think one of the things that Giles and I have both learned, when we bought the hotel, we had a management company in there. And up until that time, we'd always been the management company in Flex. And
must have been a different dynamic then.
It's so uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable. And
because you want to be hands-on.
Well, it's more about the questions. You get to a point, you ask the questions, you get an answer, and then you start thinking about it and you ask another question and you get a different answer. And once that just 1%, 0.5% of question of doubt. Thank you. That was the word that was escaping me. Middle-aged woman. Once you have, and it's a speck of sand of a doubt. But when you, as our landlords are, or our investors, shareholders, stakeholders who are, they are professional. They are the best at what they do, or they would believe, we all believe we're the best at what we do. Once there is one grain of doubt, it's gone. You question everything. And so we learned how uncomfortable it was to be that person with a management company. And I think that gives us incredible insight now in our business, understanding what landlords really need to do. So if they want to strip everything out and have a different arrangement because they've had a bad experience, Philly boots, we'll do it. No skin off our nose. Really, it's about the ultimate solution and the ultimate cost and how the profit flows.
I think what you described there is ultimately, at the end of the day, how do you structure the income distributions and who gets paid what, and who's taking the risk and who's doing all the work. And I sort of have a theory that you've got these landlords, you've got owners, and then you've got operators. And sometimes, and more recently, some of those all look the same, and or at least two of those are the same party. So my theory is that the landlords that aren't becoming operators, I think they're going to, or they're not partnering with really good operators, they're going to get squeezed out of the market. I think that the money, the investors are going to go directly to the high performing operators in the future. So that
Yeehaw to that.
so that the buildings that they own, you can take that service and wrap it around the whole building to de-risk and make a great experience. But then the challenge to that becoming a more operational real estate investment is certainly the upfront cost in the capex to deliver a Cat B experience in at least some of the footprint. So in your case, whether you're talking to a landlord or an investor, what do you say yes to when they really challenge what you want to deliver, and especially with the budgets and the numbers and the income distribution? And what do you walk away from?
The figures. So I think there are people out there post COVID that have done management deals, and the landlords have agreed to things they shouldn't have done. And the landlord has and will come off worse. And I think this comes back to our values. If we're not 100% convinced that the figures will work, we won't compromise the business plan to encourage the landlord to do it, because we're about long-term relationships. And, lots of people say to us, "Oh, why hasn't OSIT grown?" Well, we're never going to grow at any cost, because our reputation, our personal reputations, as well as our business reputations, are too important to us. We would rather be known as the excellent tiny business than look what they did for the benefit of growth.
Well, I think that right there is a great value to have in a company, in a personal manifesto. Generally, it's you got to be honest. We all grow up saying don't tell lies, right?
Yeah.
Being taught that, and
We would have loved to have said yes, and sometimes we didn't have to go. There was no reason why it wouldn't work, but we just didn't get the business. They changed their minds. They said, we'll put it on the back burner. The investors said they don't want to be in the UK market, whatever, whatever, whatever. So yeah, and I'm not saying that everybody is compromised to get the business. That's not true. There are some amazing operators that are doing some incredible deals. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
well, it does. I think in my own experience, when we do our underwriting, we're very conservative when it comes to the underwriting. You have to be. And, even though if you think, oh, well, these numbers, I think we're going to have a faster ramp up period, or we can probably achieve a higher rate. You don't want to bake that into the modeling. You want to be conservative because you'd rather, exceed expectations, right? Because the worst scenario is in 3 years when your partner is looking at ways to exercise some sort of exit of the contract. That's not good.
No.
Um,
Yeah,
and
there's enough headwinds day to day, which we know where we are at the moment. There are enough headwinds day to day to overcook your business plan,
yeah, of course.
and have to deal with that, and sit in board meetings every month and explain your cash flow and explain your shortages and explain the market. So yeah, and landlords, their expectations aren't quite aligned with reality yet.
Ooh, go, keep going, keep going.
Well, I in terms of returns, and again, I'm not the financier in our relationship. Charles is the person, but we provide really good cash returns in our businesses, but the values of the buildings are not there. And we are being looked at through very traditional lenses. And so there are a lot of people that would benefit from what we all do as operators, but can't get to the real truth of it
And
because they can't see the exit. And one of your interviewers recently said the same thing. It's all well and good for them getting in, but they've got to be able to see how to get out. And we have to find a way to get over that. And that's one of the biggest challenges.
well, I think that's a big challenge for our part of the market for sure. If you loop us into office real estate, but I think traditional office real estate is going through its own challenges, and who's going to buy, who's going to exit. The whole business plan of office real estate of a developer doing 3 to 5 years, selling it to an institutional with maybe single or multi-let 20-year leases, There's not many of those left.
There's us. We'll all take 20-year leases, but they won't value us as a good occupier.
And even there will still be some 20-year leases out there, but the fact is that you've got the big Fortune 500 or FTSE 100 or the big enterprise companies. They can afford to take long leases, buy buildings even, and spend all this capex to create an amazing experience for their employees. But the majority of office tenants or customers out there aren't those companies. They're SMEs or smaller businesses, growth businesses, and they're competing for the same talent. So it's on us as operators and the landlords and investors in all these office buildings to create an experience, which means office real estate becomes more operational. You got to spend more capex. You don't have the same buyer at the end because the income that's going to be generated is going to be a lot more volatile. Looking backwards to predict forwards.
They haven't readjusted their risk outlook for the marketplace that we're in.
So even though we are a workplace, and then going back to the hotel analogy, should we be valued like a hotel?
Well, I was listening to your podcast about hotels and the model, and they were talking about how the model works. You have the developer, and then actually a lot of them have the middleman who then brings on the operator. And that model makes a lot of sense to me. With our business, we had two stakeholders. We had the person that wanted to make the quick return on the refurbishment of the building. And they make that very quickly. We refurbish it, we fill it up, and they exit. And then you've got the person who wants the long hold. And so there are a huge amount of similarities in that respect in how they have grown the hotel model and how the hotel industry has grown. And the importance of brand as well. I like their comment that, and we see it just within our tiny 5-6 centers. People move between the buildings and they come back because they've trusted the brand.
Yeah, they know you're going to deliver from location to location. Yeah. And we obviously can't not bring up the Workspace Intelligence Network.
That's so cute.
You were on the panel at Juicy talking about this, presenting on why it's so important.
Yeah.
I know that Giles has been very involved with Rick's and the Red Book valuation, all this stuff for many years.
He wants to get back on that drum. He really
Please
does.
do. Michael Kovacs at Castle Forge has also done some white papers around the valuing buildings that have a high footprint of flex or all flex. It's a big problem. And so in the first season of this podcast, in 2020, I recorded an episode with Dror Poleg, and Dror talked about the hotel analogy, and he said that I think what you alluded to, I think they were called sandwich leases or something like that. You had this sort of like middle investor that came in to back a lease where the operator financed the capex and then got out once it got stability.
So answering the question we were talking about in between, which is the landlord has this massive capex to get to stage 1, and then there's the next, level B expenditure. Not all operators have that type of finance. The landlord needs to de-risk because they've already put
a lot of money in.
Thank you. A lot of money in. So there's somebody who wants to make a large return over a short period of time, de-risk it. And that's interesting.
And I think
maybe we should be doing that bit.
Maybe you should. I think a company that has a strong balance sheet, a company that's got this liquid has some cash on the balance sheet, they could back strong operators and new concepts to come in and revitalize some of these buildings that the landlord is maybe underwater in, doesn't have the cash. I think there's a strong business case for capex facilities in this industry for management agreements and lease arbitrage. But maybe that's another podcast.
Maybe we should get them on your podcast, those that are doing it for the hotel, and sell them the concept of flex space.
Okay.
You and me.
All right, let's do it. So stay tuned for season 17 for that. I wanted, we've went a little bit deeper on that topic than what I was expecting, but I'm glad we did. I have another topic I really want to talk about, and it's back to the experience, creating these destinations that people want to come to. And, if the culture's strong and people have choice to come into the office when it makes sense for them to, they still want to go to a place that feels cool. It's a vibe that they feel like they're taken care of. They feel like they belong there because it does it for them. And in your case, I remember walking into Office Space in Town with Alice in Wonderland themed experience. I've been to your monument location. It's very nautical themed, an amazing rooftop bar, members bar. Can we talk about design?
Okay. We're
Do you-
sitting in this beautiful cube. I mean, this is a beautiful design.
Well, shout out to Mute. We're in the Mute Clerkenwell showroom all season this season, and this is really cool. It's obviously acoustically sound because the company's called Mute.
I've just clicked.
You made the connection there. There we go. Well, I think maybe this is the right part to insert the Mute ad. If you're a landlord or flex operator trying to future-proof your building without wasting time or money, this is for you. Mute turns traditional fit-outs on their head. Their Mute modular acoustic rooms can be built, moved, or reused in days, not months. That means lower capex, less waste, and faster returns, all while creating quieter, more beautiful spaces your members actually want to work in. No demolition, no downtime, no sunk cost. Just smarter design that upgrades, reuses, and profits. From static white boxes to dynamic workplaces, head over to mute.design/brave to change the game for offices that never stand still. But the question I have for you around design is, do we need to create like amusement park themed experiences? How do you think about design when you're creating a concept?
I had very little to do with it. And if you saw my house, it's a very blank canvas.
No way.
It's all about what's in it. And what's in it for me, our furniture is what we've inherited or what we've picked up on our journeys through life together. So
You did not inherit Alice in Wonderland.
no, I'm talking about at home. And in fact, we have a cottage in Bigbury where the hotel is that was staff accommodation, but now it's not. It's for renting and it is full of furniture. It's like going home. When you walk through the door, there's the dog from New Broad Street, which is Monopoly, and there's my old dining room table. There's pictures from Monument. I mean, it's like this mix of our entire lives. When you walk through the door, it's the most bizarre place you've ever been.
That's your home.
Yes, no. Well, that's
the cottage.
the cottage. So design. My husband has always said to me, if I go on holiday, I want to go somewhere that's nicer than a home. So camping's out. Is that how people feel now? Do they feel that when they go to work, they want to be going to work somewhere that in the majority of cases is better than being at home? Because if it's not, why wouldn't they stay at home? And better has a different concept to everybody. You know, better might be the physicality of it. Better might be the people that are there. Better might be that they can do the things they want to do rather than spend their weekends doing it. So if they need to get their dry cleaning done, or they need to go to the gym, or get their nails done, or get their hair done, get their beard dyed, or whatever it is, they can do that in their working day, which gives them more free time when they're at home. So they're more inclined to go into the office. So for me, I'm thinking and talking on the hoof. I think people want to go to an environment that is generally better than the one they've come from and gives them more opportunity. It gives them more time back, even with the commute, and it gives them benefits.
I believe that. I think it reminds me of my conversation a few seasons ago with Esme Banks-Marr. You know, she's brilliant. She's a comms person, but she works for an architect organization, and but she used to work for Leasman. And when she was in this podcast episode, we were talking about Leasman data. She said the Leasman data said that the average office performed worse on the ranking system, ranking on the polls than the average home.
Really?
And
Okay.
she said, however, the best offices were off the charts compared to the average home.
Okay, so I nailed it then.
Yep.
Okay, so about our particular design, when we were doing Alice Through the Looking Glass at Waterloo, we had at one point talked about having an internal slide, and we thought that was a step too far. So there is a fine balance. One thing, we're a small operator compared to, the other brilliant brands that are out there. But we wanted every building to be different. Although we're surrounded by great brands at the moment, they do all look a little the same inside. Did they all shop from the same road in Clerkenwell? They are beautiful, but they all do look very similar. And I can hand on heart, we opened our first building in, well, actually Euston was 2010. All of our buildings are different and they're still different to everybody else in the market. And I think when it comes to design, design is beautiful. And maybe not everybody wants to stand out with something really different like we have done, but I don't think anyone is particularly standing out.
I agree with that. Um,
Sorry, everybody.
well, I think it's a good challenge to all of our friends in the industry because I think when WeWork came onto the scene many years ago, they stood out,
They did.
and I feel like now everybody is looks like WeWork
Well, they've
used to
all
look.
got some plants. They've all got some nice long tables with some nice chairs, and you know, yeah, they all look very nice. You know, they either look like your granny's living room, well, actually your stately home granny's living room, or they look like Soho farmhouse, or there's definitely a theme. I know everybody thinks they have their own theme. They definitely have a theme. They're all very beautiful, but they're all very samey.
Yeah, and going back to the brand, you should differentiate your brand starting with by communicating your values and the culture, but then that brand then leads into how you design your space for the people that you're trying to serve. And if we go on Instagram or different operator websites and we see the same messaging, flexible office space or office space on flexible terms, great coffee, Wi-Fi. Everybody says that. And if it all looks the same as well, and it's just got a different logo, then how does somebody choose? And I think the more that we can go deeper into the brand with our values front and center, and then supported by a different design, holy moly, then our industry becomes super dynamic, and the right people find the right locations based on the feeling.
Yes, definitely.
So in your case, I'm going to use a British phrase that I've come to sort of understand. It's like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it, right?
That's a bit like Giles and me. I think most people say that about us. So that's probably why it's reflected in the buildings. You do. They walk into Waterloo and they either love it or they hate it. It was a risk. Were more people going to hate it but actually not. No, they love the talking point. They like the quirkiness of it. And when they get into their office, they have what they need to be productive and they have an environment that makes them productive.
It makes it sticky. It creates a long-term value, longer lifetime value for that customer. Because if they go to a space that feels nice, but it looks like everybody else, as soon as it's a problem or as soon as somebody offers them a better discount, they can go to the other one that feels nice. But if they are actually emotionally attached to the feel and the vibe and the look and the design and the people that are there.
Yeah, I think we do roadshows at all of our centers on a regular basis. So that's a direct to the business goes and sits face to face with our clients, one to one, not in groups. Never do that. It's not our design. It's not that they come to us for. It's the customer service. And it's how we have established that narrative that they can attach, that they can see and value before they join us. And that is why the majority of our clients come to us. Is apart from obviously the ESG, it is the customer service, and we've managed to make that into a solid. My words have gone into something solid and measurable that they can see before they've joined us. And then, so the design is important. It's another tick in the box. It's another great thing, but that's not necessarily why they're coming.
My business partner Ian Miner, he's our COO, and Ian likes to use the phrase brand led hospitality. And I think what you just described there, he says being brand led. It's what people see online that they get interested in when they walk through the door. They've got to feel the same thing they felt when they saw it online. They feel it when they walk in the door, and it's all connected. And it's not like, oh, I got sold something online. I walk in and it's different. And so he calls it brand led. And then of course add in the hospitality and the service aspect of it. This is our North Star, is to deliver that brand led hospitality experience.
I'm going to steal it.
Yeah, he's gonna be mad I said it now. um, wow, we've covered some really good ground. I think before we close this out, I want to leave on a sort of I don't know if it's going to be funny or not, but I'm gonna tell a little story here. It's a true story, and it goes back to when I was first getting to know you. back in 2000 and maybe say 13, maybe 14. I'll never forget. I was sitting in Stanmore at my desk at about 6 p.m. Maybe it was 6:09 p.m. if I want to be exact. I'm not sure. And you wanted to have a chat because this was back when we were trying to connect to the operating system and book meeting rooms into your building. And you want to understand how the VAT was going to work and the accounting and how, if are you going to charge us VAT on your commission invoice versus us charging VAT to the customer. And I was a bit intimidated by that conversation. And then I got to know you and I was like, oh, you get into the details and you get serious, but you're a real person and you're really cool.
Oh, you're so cute. I was that is God, you've got a good memory. You've got a really good memory. And whilst you were saying that, I'm sitting here going, I've just had a wonderful afternoon with you, and we have talked about all sorts of things on off podcast, and your knowledge and your ability to understand the financial aspects and the language around it and the people that you've spoken to and the work that you've done and how hard you've been driving in this business. And I think I said to you when I first came in, I'm going to say it for the podcast. I didn't see you and I didn't know you. And since early days, that was a long time ago. And the person sitting in front of me now is an incredible individual with a huge amount of knowledge. I'm very honored to have sat here and I have learned a huge amount from you today. And I want to say thank you very much for having me on.
That's very kind of you to say, Niki. Thank you. Kind of made me cry here.
It's my secret weapon.
It's touching to hear. I really appreciate that. It's one of the benefits of being able to talk to people like this very intently over the years on the podcast, but also offline and learning from so many incredible people. I'm just a mouthpiece here, sharing what I've learned, but it comes from everybody else. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
It's my pleasure.
And I've learned a lot from you about that and everything else. Wow. I don't know how to end the podcast now.
Bye.
Well, actually, our phrase is, thank you for listening. Until next time, take care of yourself. And I'm reminded of Saturday Night Live. You ever watch Saturday Night Live where they all say, welcome to Live from New York. It's Saturday night.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we do for the first time, if we say it together, if we say, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, and look at the camera and say, take care of yourself.
Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we do that in tandem?
Yeah. Well, let's give it a go. How many tries do we have? Thank you for tuning in. No.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Until next time. Okay.
So I'll say 3, 2, 1. But before I say that, I'm just going to wrap it up. So 3, 2, 1. This has been such a great time, great conversation. It's my honor for you to join me here. And thank you.
Thank you, Caleb. It's been a joy. It really has. I've learned a lot.
Thank you for tuning in.
Until next time, take care of yourself.
Well done. Paper, scissors.
Oh,
if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe at braveideas.media. And I'm actively sourcing buildings for brand-led hospitality repositioning. If you have a lead, an owner considering a sale, or a partner brief, DM me or reach us at bravecorp.co. And until next time, take care of yourself.